Join me as we plant garlic today. Hey guys, I'm Ray. Welcome back to Horticulture Geek. Thank you so much for joining me today here on the channel. And I hope you are all having a fantastic day. And I want you to join me as we plant garlic bulbs today. Now, yes, you heard that right. Garlic bulbs. Garlic is typically a fall planted crop. And we are in January right now. And for those of you who are with my channel for a while, you know my last video I posted was this garden completely covered with snow. The snow is melting, it's almost all gone. And I was at a farm and feed supply store the other day and came across some garlic still. So I thought, you know what? I might as well give it a go and try it. I usually order my garlic in and have it planted probably end of October, 1st of November, but there's still time to plant garlic. It may not be ready. Garlic typically, if you plant it in the fall, will be ready around the 4th of July. So this garlic, if I plant it today, it may very well be ready around the 4th of July, or it may take a little bit longer, maybe to the end of July. Either way is fine by me. So I found the garlic and I thought that let's just give it a shot and get some in the ground because I hadn't done that yet. So this is a Dutch Valley Growers, is all it really says. It doesn't give me a specific variety of garlic on this tag. And the bag has 2 garlic heads in it. So let me open this bag up and let's talk about how we get our garlic ready to plant. Okay, let me put this stuff down. So here we have it. There's a garlic head right there ready to plant, except for it's not ready to plant. So the trick with garlic is that you buy it in these heads. The full head of garlic is how you buy it. Some varieties are quite large, some are medium sized, some are smaller sized. There are soft neck, there are hard neck varieties. There are varieties that will do better in southern or short day climates. There are varieties that do better in northern or long day climates. There are varieties that do well in both. They're called intermediate. So really dependent upon where you live will really depend on what kind of, will lead you to specific types of garlic to plant for your area. Hopefully, if you're buying from a reputable garden center or feed and seed store, they're gonna order in varieties that should do well for you in your area. But if you don't trust that, get online. There are lots of companies out there. I typically order from Fillery Garlic if I think about it in time, and I did not do that this year. So I just picked these up, like I said, at the feed store. Now, how do we get this ready to plant? Well, I've got to take it apart and separate it into the individual cloves of garlic. The individual cloves of garlic is what I'm going to plant, and then each clove will grow itself back into a full head of garlic. And then when it's time to harvest, I harvest the full head of garlic, and this is the garlic that I keep in the house to cook with. It's a pretty simple process. And if you've ever cooked with garlic or grown garlic before, you know there's really not a lot to it. So we're just gonna kind of crack this open and get in here until we can get some of these cloves out of here. Now, the trick is that you don't wanna just rip right into it and remove all of the protective casings off of your individual cloves. You want to leave some of the individual casings on your cloves, because that papery husk or casing around each individual clove is what protects it in the ground from rotting. Okay, so I just broke it. So now I can peel it back. And now I've got, this is actually 2 cloves. So let me open her up again. And now I've got 2 cloves of garlic with their protective skin still on, ready to go. This one right here actually came out of its protective skin. So it has a potential to rot in the ground. I'm still gonna plant it to see what happens. But if this happened to you, this would be a garlic that you could just go ahead and bring into the house and eat if you wanted to just have garlic that way. Okay? And then, so now I'm just gonna keep working around and breaking these cloves up. So, there we go. So there's the stem. We can get rid of that. So now I have all of these individual cloves to get planted in the garden. Now, planting garlic is pretty simple. We've talked about this before in my videos, and I'm sure if you're an experienced gardener, you know this. But if you're a beginner gardener, every bulb, it doesn't matter if it's a garlic clove, a daffodil bulb, a tulip bulb, a hyacinth bulb, muscari bulb, whatever. All bulbs have a growth end, a top, and a root end, a bottom, okay? So just exactly how this clove was oriented together is how it is. So there's my root end, there's my growth end. So when I plant this, it's gonna go into my planting hole right side up, so that when it starts growing, it can set roots out underneath and anchor itself in, and its growth tip can send its leaf and stalks up straight up through the ground. If I plant a bulb sideways, I talked about this in the tulip planting videos before. If I plant a bulb sideways or upside down, it probably will still grow, but that bulb is going to have to expend extra energy to grow down, turn, orient itself, and come back up before it can finally emerge above soil surface to get its leaves up into the air, right? We don't want to have it waste all that energy. We just want to take a few seconds of time, orient our bulbs correctly in the hole to give them the optimized amount of success we can give them. So now that we've talked about all of that, there is super simple, just put them in the ground. Let's go over to where I'm gonna plant these, and I'm gonna show you how we do it. Okay, so I have you guys back here in my raised bed. This is my giant rose bush, my climbing rose bush that has fallen off my fence. But that's not gonna affect my project today. But right down here is where we are going to be working at. Okay, so right here, I have my garlic bulbs. Right here, I have a little bit of Biotone starter fertilizer. And then this is my soil. So to plant these garlic bulbs, super simple. You can either dig an individual hole per bulb, or if you've got multiple bulbs like I do, I'm just gonna do a trench right here in my planting bed, okay? So just do a nice big trench, pull that soil up to get a workable trench, okay? Then I'm just gonna take my Biotone starter fertilizer and put it right in the trench and work that in just a little bit. And now then I can take my garlic cloves, remember bottom side to the bottom and top side to the top, and we're gonna plant these about 2 to 3 inches apart in this trench. Okay, so you can see that they're planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that little trench. And then all I'm gonna do is cover them up. And these are going about 2.5 to 3 inches deep, okay? So I know that row's there, so I'm just gonna come do my next row right behind it. Just gonna come right in there and do my next row. I'm not planting a whole bunch of garlic. Obviously, if you're planting a whole bunch, you're gonna need to do a lot more work. Just wiggle that in and then get these bulbs in. cover them up. Okay, and then I'm gonna do one more trench back here at the very back. And cover it up. And there it is. And then this extra biotone is not gonna hurt anything. I brought a little extra over here. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that across the top. And then we'll just work that right into the top. That way it's there in the soil. All right, so that's our garlic planted. Now, as you just saw, I did not plant very much garlic. And as a matter of fact, a couple of the bulbs, because I had bought 2 packages of garlic, and each package had 2 bulbs in it, or 2 heads of garlic. One head of garlic in each bag had already started to deteriorate, which is a risk you run buying garlic this late in the season. But if you haven't grown garlic before, it's super easy to do it. I suggest giving it a try. And if you do like to grow your own garlic and just forgot to get around to it in the fall, there's still time. If you can find good garlic, go ahead and get it in the ground. Like I said, the worst case scenario, you just harvest it a little bit later. It needs a few extra weeks to mature and get ready to pull up and harvest. But that's it. Garlic is super simple. So I really encourage everybody to give it a shot. Now, before we sign off on this video, when I was at that same feed and farm store, I also picked up a bag of alliums. So I'm gonna get these in the ground. There are 8 allium bulbs in this package. And again, like I just said on garlic, every bulb has a root or a bottom end and a growth or a top end. Now this bulb, if it did not have those roots on the bottom there, it might be hard for somebody to figure out, okay, what's the bottom, what's the top end. But if you really look, you can kind of see where the roots come out and that tiny little point where a growth tip will come out of this allium. Now allium is in the onion and garlic family, so planting it is exactly the same. These I got to go in my front bed where we just pulled all those bushes out. So I'm gonna pop the camera out there for a minute. And I'm not even gonna worry about biotone starter fertilizer with these. Not really necessary with this, in my opinion, but it would not hurt. I'm just not gonna do it. So I'm just gonna get out there, I'm gonna set the camera up and pop these randomly in that flower bed. It is going to make absolutely no sense at this point in time because there's nothing in those beds, but I'm going to plant them in a way that they'll still come up and give me color in the spring, anticipating that I'm going to be putting other stuff in the ground around those flower beds. So let me get the camera up there and let's get her done. All right, I got those knocked out. So that is gonna complete my to-do list for today. So even though it is January, there are still things that we can be doing in our gardens. I also spent some time this afternoon. I didn't turn the camera on for it, but I spent some time watering all the plants in the potting shed that I'm overwintering, doing a little maintenance on those plants in there. You know, so there's still some things that can be done. We are warm today, but we are fixing to have another Arctic blast come through, just like most of the country, most of the South. So after that next Arctic blast is done, I'm gonna be tackling that rose bush. You know, February 14th, 15th, Valentine's Day-ish is when you wanna tackle pruning roses anyway. But that is just a mess back there and I've got to get it dealt with. So as soon as this next Arctic blast is done, that's gonna be a video coming up tackling that rose bush. I also ordered some more bulbs today on a online bulb website that was having a sale. So you can still pick up things to plant. And as long as your ground is workable and not frozen, you can plant them. Now, some of you may have noticed I was struggling a little bit planting my allium bulbs in the front yard. Two reasons for that. One, my ground is cold, and so it was hard to work it. But two, I just ripped all those bushes out from up there that have been in there for 30 years, and that soil has just not been worked in a long time. So I had to work at getting those bulbs planted. But we're gonna tackle that problem as the year progresses and we plant more things and amend the soil and get that all fixed up there. So, but guys, the moral of the story is that yes, it's January, but if you wanna get into gardening, there is absolutely things you can be doing. You can also start thinking about seed sowing. If you haven't ordered or went out and purchased seeds yet, now's a great time to do that. If you have a facility to grow your seedlings and let your seedlings mature into plants before it's time to plant them in May or April or whenever you plant in your area, you probably could even start some seeds now. But I always tell people, don't get over ambitious with seed planting. For me, I start my seeds in the house, in the dining room, or in my potting shed. I have very limited space. So I don't have space. If my seedlings outgrow their little seed starter kits, then you've got to plant them into bigger containers. That means you've got to have pots, you've got to have soil, and you've got to have space to keep all those things inside a warm environment, whether that's your house, a greenhouse, or a potting shed. So if you don't have the facilities to work with your plants, it's probably not time to start your seeds yet. But if you do have the facilities, then you can go ahead and do it. And that's something, especially if you're watching other YouTubers, you've got to be mindful of. If they're out starting seeds, which a lot of big garden channels are already working on starting their seeds, they have greenhouses and they have space to work their seeds up in size until it's time to plant them out. The average homeowner, the average gardener probably doesn't have that space. So be very careful with seed starting. Don't get over ambitious and start too early. So there's my caveat for that. I hope you have enjoyed spending some time with me today here in the garden. I've certainly enjoyed having some shorts on and being out enjoying this day. It is absolutely beautiful here today. The snow is still melting, but it was warm and nice, and I was just excited to get out into the garden. So I hope you've enjoyed walking around with me and having a chat this afternoon. If you have enjoyed this video, give me that thumbs up. If you have not hit that subscription or bell, go ahead and do that so you can see more videos as they come out, because we've got more bulbs to plant when they get here. We've got roses to prune. We've got all sorts of maintenance to do in the garden. And before you know it, we'll be seed starting and planting out. So stay along with me for my journey. If you have any comments or questions, leave those down below. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, guys, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.